For my Booktube video, I chose to read My Life with the Walter Boys by Ali Novak. This book is the first in a series where the second book is My Return to the Walter Boys, also written by Ali Novak. This book follows with season 1 of the Netflix series, My Life with the Walter Boys, and the second book is set to be a season 2 for the Netflix series later this year. To provide some context of this book, it was written in 2014, which at the time was the Winter Olympic Games, the start of the Ebola virus, and was actually the same year that another popular young adult romance book, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, was also published. Another important note to make about the context of this book is that the author is known for writing young adult romance books that focus on coming-of-age stories and family dynamics and everything that comes along with those. The intended audience for this book would be young adults ages 12 and up. However, I feel that this book is more relatable for high school and upper high school students who are closer to the age of the characters, as it might be difficult for 12 to 15-year-olds to necessarily relate to the feelings and actions that the characters in the book are going through. This book follows the story of Jackie Howard, who is a 16-year-old girl who moves to a small town in Colorado to live with her mom's college best friend, Catherine Walter. She makes this move after the tragic death of her mother, father, and sister. Catherine Walter lives in Colorado with her husband, Richard, and her 11 sons and one daughter, who are known as the Walter Boys, and then the girl is named Parker. At the beginning of this book, Jackie has a really hard time adjusting from life in New York City to life in small-town Colorado. This makes her often feel like an outsider and like she doesn't belong in the family. The boys do not make this transition any easier and often play pranks and tricks and tease her often. They also get angry when Jackie is not expected to participate in the same chores that they are, as she's still adjusting to life. Additionally, at school, Jackie has a hard time adjusting and making new friends, as it's a small school similar to the schools in the local Southern Ohio area, but she's from a huge school, and so the people in her grade have known each other their entire lives. They've lived together their entire lives, and she is an outsider coming in her sophomore year of high school. As Jackie begins to adjust to life more, the boys begin accepting and including her a lot more in family activities. This includes things like going out to parties and doing other things that would not necessarily be appropriate for high schoolers, but they do anyways, so they take Jackie along with them. Going on these adventures is often along with one of the older sons, Cole Walter. Cole Walter is a senior in high school who has turned to alcohol to solve his problems after suffering an injury and not being able to play football his senior year of high school. Jackie begins to fall in love with Cole throughout the story and becomes absolutely obsessed with him. But then when she starts to see more and more of how much he relies on alcohol, she becomes more weary of him and starts to turn towards Alex Walter. This causes a lot of jealousy and tension between Cole and Alex, eventually resulting in a major disagreement, which causes issues throughout the entire family. This book also highlights the relationships and high school experience of the other members of the family. This includes things such as Cole cheating on his girlfriend several times with other girls, and the impact that has on her personal and mental health. This book also explores the theme of complicated family dynamics, the good and the bad, and the way that the relationship with a new person can completely flip the family dynamic upside down. Another primary focus of this book is on grief, how different characters experience it, and how they manage their grief. This is seen through Jackie grieving the loss of her family and managing it by keeping it to herself and keeping everything internal and not letting anyone in. This is seen in Cole, who's grieving the loss of his football career, who manages it by turning to alcohol and becoming deeper and deeper in alcoholism and bad decision making. This is seen in Will, another one of the Walter boys, who's grieving the loss of his fiancée after a breakup. And he essentially isolates himself, quits doing everything, and essentially just decides that he's going to spend the rest of his life laying in bed doing nothing. Towards the end of the book, this is also seen with Catherine and Richard, the two parents of the Walter children, who are grieving their children's poor decisions and how they feel that it's their fault that their children made these decisions. Another key thing to note throughout the book is Alex consistently grieves the fact that Jackie wants to be with Cole, not him, because he is absolutely in love with Jackie and can't see why she would ever want to be with someone like Cole. This book has several strengths and weaknesses. Some of the strengths are that the characters are very relatable. They all have personalities and engage in activities that are relatable for high school students. The themes, such as family and grief, and being in a new environment and feeling excluded and isolated, are things that are very familiar to many students and are easy to relate to. And lastly, it's relatable for students who have had to move, who have been in the new kid in school. And it's relatable for students who don't necessarily live with their parents, which is a very common thing in this area. And it highlights some of those feelings of feeling isolated, like you're not actually part of the family, and that you don't belong. Some of the weaknesses of this book are that it refers to a lot of sexual activity. It almost encourages underage drinking at points, with all of the characters engaging in this and it just being normal. And another thing is that some of the characters are very stereotypical, and they have one character trait that becomes their entire personality. For these reasons, I would recommend the book to older high school students, but I would not necessarily recommend this to young readers, like kids in 7th or 8th grade, just because I feel that some of the things the characters do sets a bad example. I would recommend this for high school teachers to have in their library as an option for students to read, as I feel it is a very good book and many students would enjoy it and relate to it. But I would not necessarily teach this book due to the amount of sexual references and alcohol that are in the book, specifically with the underage drinking. And lastly, I would recommend this for high school librarians to have in their library, because I think this is a very relatable book for high schoolers, but I don't think it's appropriate for librarians to have for younger students. Thank you.